Bolshevik hopes are dying in squalor and misery. When under the direction of Herbert Hoover on the left, $60 million worth of food from the United States arrives to feed the starving Russian peasants. This act and Lenin's return to limited free enterprise saves the Soviet state. Exercising power for the ailing Lenin are Zinoviev and Lev Kamenev, forefront on the podium. In the background, the shadowy new secretary of the Communist Party, Joseph Stalin, is still relatively unknown. January 24, 1924. Vladimir Lenin, who vowed to destroy the free world, is dead, and a sordid struggle for power begins. Scheming to destroy the image of Trotsky as Lenin's successor, the triumvirate Zinoviev, Kamenev, and Stalin telegraphed Trotsky on his way to Sukhin, a health resort. The funeral takes place on Saturday. You will not be able to return on time. The Politburo thinks that because of the state of your health, you must proceed to Sukhin. The funeral actually takes place on Sunday. Trotsky proceeds to Sukhin. Stalin proceeds to power, using his position of party secretary to staff key positions with his henchmen. He rids himself of his opposition, Trotsky, who is exiled to Turkestan, then with his family to Turkey, and finally to Mexico. His son, Sadov, is later to be poisoned by the Soviet secret police. It is again apparent that communism requires an absolute dictatorship to survive. The dictator, Joseph Stalin, and he builds a cult of personality probably unrivaled in history by anyone except Adolf Hitler. Stalin creates an image of himself as a demigod. A man of the people, the source of all goodness, all wisdom, all love. Watching the proceedings are Stalin's underlings, Grigorio Ordzhonikidze, Anastas Mikoyan, Vyacheslav Molotov, and Lazar Kaganovich. Stalin is pictured as Lenin's closest disciple, the revolution's greatest general, communism's most profound thinker, the great educator. The communist narrator says,
operators, lorry drivers, hydromechanizers, and others are studying the economic laws discovered and substantiated by Joseph Stalin.
The guardian of hearth and home, a hero for children to worship. Stalin is very much aware of one of communism's primary objectives, to capture the minds and hearts of the young. Now he gives great attention to the Komsomol, the Young Communist League, whose aim is to link every step in the training and education of youth to the class struggle, the victory over the non-communist people of the earth. Now the world begins to learn the truth about communism. Family ties are discouraged. The state is supreme. Translation: religion is the opiate of the people. Religious satires are staged throughout the Soviet Union. Atheism continues to be the official state doctrine. Communism instructs its people, never forget the clergy are the greatest enemies of the Soviet state. If you are not a convinced atheist, you cannot be a good communist and Soviet citizen. Atheism is inseparable from communism. Both of these ideals form the foundation of Soviet power. Teachers find that 40% of their course is made up of indoctrinational studies. Indoctrinators are guided by Lenin's instruction, children must be taught to hate their parents if these are not communists. For sons of the new class, military training begins early. Communism believes that its struggle to win the world will be a violent one. 1928, Stalin puts Trotsky's 5-year industrialization plan into effect as his own. He initiates a series of so-called judicial trials that will last for 10 years, providing scapegoats for his many failures. And he begins the forced collectivization of agriculture. Stalin declares the kulak, the independent farmer, an enemy of the state. Whole villages are uprooted. Six million farmers are liquidated. 25 million farms erased. The most violent social upheaval in history as Stalin forces the peasant population into huge collectives. Food production declines, and once again, as in Lenin's time, starvation is the diet of communism. Freight cars are used for housing. Stalin makes slavery an essential part of the communist economy. Here, digging the Volga-Don Canal are farmers, religious leaders, and inconvenient minorities. Stalin establishes his own secret police force, and slave labor camps are set up all over the Soviet Union. 125 camps, 10 million slaves. On the backs of his slaves, Stalin builds an industrial Russia geared for conflict with the West. 1934, Stalin plots to liquidate his opposition within the party. He confides to his friends to choose the victim, to prepare the blow with care, to satisfy an implacable vengeance, and then go to bed. There is nothing sweeter in the world. On the right is Sergei Kirov. Stalin uses the assassination of Kirov as the excuse for the great purges which claimed thousands of lives. The first to go, Lenin's close associates. Zinoviev executed. Kamenev executed. Radek executed. Piatakov executed. Leon Trotsky comments from Mexico,
"There are no crime in history more terrible in intention or execution than the Moscow trials of Zinoviev, Kamenev, and Radek Piatakov. What is now my principal task? To reveal the truth, to show and to demonstrate that the true criminals hide under the cloak of the accusers. What will be the next step in this direction? The creation of an American, an European, and subsequent also an international commission of inquiry, composed of people who incontestably enjoy authority and public confidence."
Trotsky's future? Assassination. In the Kremlin, the planned murders continue. The cream of the officer corps,